on a test. Hey everyone, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for this important cybersecurity briefing and roundtable. We appreciate your presence and commitment to prioritizing the security of your business. I'm kind of excited about today's topic. Believe it or not, I passed up on a test ride in a brand spanking new Hummer EV that just so I could get here on time. I want to take a second to introduce our team. We are a small family owned and operated business, and we operate like a big family. We're on a mission to help you grow your business and protect what matters most. And Ben will talk about what we're going to cover today.
Yeah, that is exactly what we are on a mission to do. That is our mission for this meeting, but it's also our mission during our day-to-day work is to keep people safe. So it's going to be, once again, another pretty quick meeting. We're going to talk about what's really going on, what we are kind of dealing with today's subject, who specifically it impacts, what kind of costs are involved, and what you have control over, what you can do to protect yourself, and how you can use this information to run an effective business that grows. But to sort of describe what we're getting into today, I'll kick it over to John.
Hey, thanks, Ben. AI, or artificial intelligence, cybersecurity scams have been reported in West Michigan in the last year, and they're increasing. They include AI voice cloning scams. Katie Grevius, might get the name wrong there, from the Better Business Bureau of West Michigan has issued a warning about scams using artificial intelligence to mimic people's voices in scam phone calls. Scammers use AI to clone voice samples from social media posts, videos, or brief phone conversations. It takes only 15 seconds of a voice sample to compile a convincing imitation of a person's voice. They use these to make convincing fake emergency calls asking for money, or to relay convincing instructions or requests to employees to perform unethical tasks or obtain sensitive information. Police agencies in West Michigan have specifically warned about an increase in AI voice cloning scams. They warn that these are becoming increasingly more frequent in the region. Let's not forget about AI deepfake or AI generated video impersonation scams. Scammers use AI deepfake technology to create highly realistic videos that can impersonate corporate executives, impersonate government officials, promote fake investment or product pitches, and impersonate known personal contacts to appear valid and gain trust, and also gain information for more convincing phishing attempts. Last but not least, scammers can use AI to create compromising or embarrassing fake videos for blackmail or other slanderous purposes. The salient point here is that we've always trusted known voice or image recognition to verify the source of spoken information. Essentially, you can't trust your eyes and ears completely anymore as a reliable method of verification or confirmation. AI voice cloning and image generation are going to become progressively more sophisticated and effective in the ability to fool chosen targets and victims. We'll need to move into a more of a zero trust posture and develop appropriate verification processes. Ben?
John, when you say zero trust, what does that entail specifically?
Oh, it's pretty self-explanatory in this case. Jason gives us a call and tells us to transfer funds into something else, and I'm going to call him back and ask if he really means that. Don't trust anything, in other words. Zero trust is self-explanatory.
I was thinking, great with corny dad jokes, but how do I know that you guys are really on here right now, with me? I mean, AI it's really getting scary to. I come home and my kids are on social media much more than I would like them to be. And I'm not gonna derail us into politics, even though we're in a election year. But let's just say I've got my 16-year-old showing me on a weekly basis that, Dad, look at look at this is this guy doing this thing. And I'm like, no, it's not real. That's AI generated. That's fake. It is not, Dad. It's not fake. It's not, and so, yeah. Going back to what you said, you can't trust your eyes, you can't trust your ears. I don't even know if I can trust my 16-year-old, to be able to discern, what is real and what's fake. So,
Well, Jason, to answer your question of how you know specifically that I am real and not AI generated, the fact of the matter is that while AI is indeed advanced, it's still not to the point where it can effectively project this level of charisma. So, as long as you're feeling it, then. um, But we can get back on track here. We talk about who this actually impacts, and we usually talk about a specific use case. But in reality, this is just another method of achieving the same goals that we talk about every single time we do one of these. Instead of sending you an email pretending to be the CEO, they'll send you or they'll call you up, and you've talked to the CEO in person, and he's a really cool guy, and yeah, that's his phone number, and well, he told me to do this, and I don't want to get fired, so I'm just going to do it without question. It's something that everyone has to look out for. I always say, if you weren't expecting the call, if you weren't expecting to do something, or if it's something that you're not normally expected to be doing, you should verify it every single time. Even if you are otherwise completely sure that that it's legit, it takes an extra 10 seconds just to call someone back, say hi to them in person, really, and just verify who it is. And honestly, the worst thing that could happen is they go like, duh, of course it's me.
Absolutely. Reminds me of what my mom told me. She says, if you love something, you love someone, then let them go and they'll come back to you. And I think that applies right here today. Hang up the phone, and if it's really them, they'll answer when you call them back. So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. If it's important, they'll call you back. That's another good rule of thumb, I find.
Yeah.
So, it's the same as it always is, where we're just trying to get into your data and we're trying to steal your stuff. So if we wanted to talk about the costs involved, we're going to be talking about a lot of the same stuff as we normally do. We're talking about the financial losses. Hey, I need this money wired really quick. I'm in prison, or I got pulled over and they planted drugs on me, so I need you to bail me out. Send money. That's oh well, geez, I lost my money because someone just asked nicely for it and I sent it over to them, and the bank's not gonna do anything about that. Loss of business. Hey, your salesman is calling people up and calling them, racial slurs and doing terrible things to damage the reputation of your business. Someone's gonna go, yeah, actually turns out salesman Jeff is kind of mean and I don't ever want to work with his company ever again. Remediation costs, it's hard to remediate this sort of thing, but there are ways of blocking this sort of thing out. C-level turnover is a much less likely sort of event. You're going to be dealing more with like lower level turnover with this sort of thing, usually.
I just was gonna quick mention earlier today, and I hate that we can't always talk about things, but we don't have permission to talk about it. But yet, I learned another development on another local recent, cyber attack where AI voice was actually used. And I learned it from the attorney, that was involved in this as well. And the attorney's like, oh, yeah, I don't know if you knew what happened, but, it's like, and yeah, that they had her voice and I'm like, wow, I wish I could just share, the details of the story because, I mean, I used to love, was it Matlock? Viola cigar smoking, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solving the crime. I mean, that is what I love about this stuff is it just, what I hate is it's getting worse before it's getting better. What I love is it's like a crime show, and the plot just keeps on, thickening and thickening and thickening. So there was some sea level turnover in that, but I
Okay.
won't get ourselves in hot water. So
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess sea level turnover. There you go. There's your example, anecdotally. Obviously, customer distrust, regulatory fines if something illegal is done on your behalf because someone generated a facial recognition software based unlocking of an account somewhere. It's all possible. Cyber criminals are very creative and they will stop at nothing to make a bunch of money off of your suffering.
absolutely.
So, you know, there's talking about what the cost is, and then there's talking about like what we can do to protect ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, Jason, do you have any like good tips for protecting yourself?
Absolutely. I'm staring at the question on the screen of how I can use this as leverage for growth. And I guess my answer to both of those questions, Ben, is going to be start doing the things right now that you could and should, be doing. That, we're always coming from these won't cost you any money, so do them, do them right now. And unfortunately, the first one that comes to my mind does actually cost money, and that's a password manager. If you're using a free password manager, then I'm sorry, I've got to retract my love for free, solutions. But I can't endorse a free password manager. You really ought to be using a good, password manager. And that stems from talking with that attorney. I just said, it's great that you hate social media, and it's great that you're, super private, and you only do phone calls and you only do texts, but you do use passwords, right? Yeah. You use a password manager, right? No. Well, you should be, And that's one where we're not talking significant cost, but companies could definitely leverage this for growth by implementing something as simple as a password manager, just making sure that their people are being responsible with their passwords. Um, Another thing I just encountered today, and again, I want to be careful. I don't know what they put in my water, but uh, place I come from had their private corporate Wi-Fi password stuck up on a whiteboard so that 30 people from outside their organization could walk in and just access all of their private company resources. Now, me being me, I snapped a picture and I figure we'll follow up on it later and, let the appropriate parties know that, hey, like, that should never happen. Like, you don't want to do that. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yeah, just being responsible, with the first thing, your passwords is where I would start, honestly. So,
Yeah, passwords, protecting your information is always like step number one. And when you tell me about something like that, my mind goes to, but doesn't necessarily execute on the thought of like just putting an informational pamphlet in every one of their folders, and then they go, "Why did this suddenly show up?"
exactly.
But with this sort of thing, I think it's a lot of just common sense, or maybe not less than common sense, but just paying attention to what's going on, knowing that these things are possible, and thinking rationally about what situation you're put in when someone calls you up asking for money or for information. So I think following some simple steps is as far as just like, all right, we have a policy. If someone's asking for money, you go talk to them in person before anything, and they sign something that says that yes, do something with the money. That's maybe a method of protecting yourself from this sort of attack entirely, as long as everybody follows the policy.
Yeah, but even the problem there is I found my signature in places where it doesn't belong, and it just, it does come down to the one, we're up on time, but
Oh my.
it it comes down to where it's just, I don't believe in going out and, promoting the fear, gloom, and doom, right? I'm actually a glass half full versus a glass half empty, kind of viewpoint. But when it comes to having your voice impersonated or having video, now impersonated, I mean, how do you? So, team, I mean, what are your thoughts before I share mine? But like, Ben, how are you going to protect yourself? John, how are you going to protect yourself? I mean, how's somebody going to really know that that's you, especially when you're in a position of authority that, as I heard earlier today, this actually happened was, uh, now this is, secondhand, but coming from trusted source is phone call from the bank to the supposed, person, but the impersonated person that then authorized, the wiring of the funds. How do you prevent that?
Well, I have sort of half-baked intentions of building a cabin in the middle of nowhere and disappearing off the grid myself. But in the meantime, having some sort of policy in place that says, and again, policies are nice to have as long as everybody's following them, but I think they're a good place to start as far as saying, like, okay, movement of money doesn't happen unless like we have verified this, this, and this. At that point, it happens. And make everyone that you work with aware of like, hey, I am never going to just come out and ask you to do a wire transfer. I'm never going to ask you to buy gift cards for your other employees. I'm never going to ask you for your password.
Mm-hmm.
When you call the bank, they tell you we will never ask you for your password over the phone, or we'll never ask for your credit card number over the phone, because it's so important to know that if anyone does ask for your credit card number over the phone, you know for a fact it ain't them.
That
Well,
reminds me, Ben, I do have to ask for my company card back, and this is actually me asking. So if you could just return it to me at my desk, that'd be
Yeah, I
awesome. So
gotcha. I
just don't
gotcha.
shine it up on the camera, please. So
Uh-huh.
well, going back to the zero trust question earlier, I think any policy established for confirmation of a request for transfer of funds, a request for a password, there should be a policy set up for a separate channel of confirmation. Meaning, like if you get the telephone call, you should either call back to the actual number of the person that you thought you were receiving it from, or email or some other separate communication to confirm the first communication was valid.
yeah, I agree, and I think that ought to be a follow-up thing or follow-through thing from us is to give a standard like this is what we recommend, and of course, there's no one size fits all, but a recommended best practice that companies could then customize, you know, to suit their specific needs. So. But want to stick with our 15-minute promise. We are a few minutes up. And so if anything that we covered and touched on today sparks an interest or a need for help, and you'd like to take us up on a cyber discovery session, we encourage you to do so. There is no cost. There is no catch. there is a team of people here that are caring and wanting to help you in your journey to becoming safer online. So I want to thank everyone for your time and your prioritization of cybersecurity. Stay safe in the digital world and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day.